don't need to go to the bathroom, Blake.
All right. Now you got to hold it for as long as we go. All right. So,
Welcome back to the
welcome to
big show.
episode 8 of Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. We got myself, Blake, and Chris. We're enjoying our free federal holiday that Chris got screwed out of last year, apparently.
Yeah.
Some money. In other news, for his birthday and the past couple days, he got some free air conditioning with this cold, cold draft. So that was nice of him. And then Blake lucked out there. If you see in the background, he got that nice shiny gold car that everybody wants to charge a friggin' fortune for by being on the wait list. Show us that thing, man. That's sharp. That's nice. I was really happy for you to get that, especially being that everybody wants to charge like 500 plus for that damn car.
So
You got it for
I
free.
actually, I was bidding for one before I won that, or before they emailed me and said, "Hey, you got one." And I was bidding it. I was at 405, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And then
nobody.
you paid taxes on it, so probably another 40 bucks.
It was gonna be like 426.
Okay.
But like when I put the bid on, I was winning it with like 5 days left, 6 days. 2 days later, I get the email, I get a phone, or I get the a charge from my bank account, and I'm like, "What is that?" And I emailed and found out that it was this. Well, a couple of days later, uh, you know, here's your chance to up your bid or whatever, and I go to eBay and I'm still winning, and I'm like, "This is not good." I emailed the guy. That's like, "Hey, I don't, I told him the scenario, and I said, I don't need this bid anymore. Please decline
Yep.
my bid." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know how." Okay, so I I did everything I could, and I thought, well, there is 4 hours left. Maybe somebody can come in at the end and take it. No, and
Ironically, that's
I won the auction, and then I emailed the guy again, like, "Listen, I took all my payment information off. I said, I'm not paying for this. Please cancel my bid." And then magically, he knew how to cancel my bid
yeah.
when he found out he wasn't getting paid. So, but yes, I'm very happy to get that thing.
That's kind of what happened with my Harvick beer gold cars. I didn't even see where they were a pre-order thing during the season in his final year, them or the Budweiser one until after the fact. I was able to track down the Budweiser one. I think I paid like 300. Now it's like 500. It's pretty hard to find. And then the Harvick one, the Harvick beer when he ran for his final race, I found it through one guy, got it, and then I forgot I had bid on one, and I won that one. So I've got two of them now, and I was holding the other one for you for trade bait for that damn car in case we needed it. So now I can sell it or give it to my uncle or something. But I've been
I
holding it just
appreciate
in
you doing
case
that
we
for me.
needed it for that. Kellogg's throwback gold for gold with some cash or whatever. Just trying to find a way because you've gotten me a lot of you know good cars over the years as a diamond member in the auction house. You got me that uh icon over there for the Kyle Busch and the two
Gen
Daytona
one, baby.
and some other stuff. So happy to do that. So I'm glad you got that gemstone checked off because that's an important one. But
Very important.
Just now you just gotta find Kansas.
yeah,
Oh God.
in that vein, we can start with
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Kansas is going to be nowhere near as needy as that one. There is 48 of Kansas, but it's
okay.
not.
Well,
There's
it's not
no.
gonna be as needy as you then, is what you're saying.
Did they
Yes.
do a gold for the Brickyard win?
No.
Really? That one surprises me because that's like a major milestone.
Yeah,
I'm
but
really
the
surprised.
Kansas one being the closest finish ever. The only thing on that's unique is the tire mark from where
Busher.
he, yeah, where he banged into Busher. But outside of that,
Okay.
there's nothing special about it. There's no confetti on it. It's just a gold car with a tire mark on it.
Okay. I just would
But
have
I do
expected,
want to
that
keep
monumental win
one.
of his, even with if it was just like race debris and nothing else, I would have expected that, but
Yeah,
kind of surprised. Maybe they'll come back to
there's
it.
still
Yeah.
time. There's
I'm
still
just glad
time.
they're doing them now. You know, I would have preferred white gold or platinum, but the yellow gold on some of these really does pop. I was never a big
Yeah.
yellow gold fan.
I just wish they would have put I was telling Chris this. They should have put the gold where the damn yellow is.
That's what I was just gonna say.
So I agree. I would have, if I was picking the way the car would have been laid out, I would have made it a dual drop first off, like some of these Dale Jr. the 2011 series. If any of you got those 2011 series color chrome elites for Mark Martin, Harvick, Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, some of them are dual drops. So like the Dale Jr. VH1 car, for example, the white got dropped, but then the decals of the red and yellow also got dropped into like a clear wrap, or they were like embedded into it. So it's like a dual drop car. And same thing with some of Harvick's, like his 4th of July car with the white with the red stripes and the blue stars. The whole thing is chrome. The blue, the white, the red, all of it. And then another one was
Now
the
they claim they can't do it.
yeah, so they did. I wish they would have done it, but if I was picking the art to the point of what you're saying, I agree with Chris. I would have dropped the yellow as the gold, and I would have made the red color chrome, and I think that would have been, and maybe the white even like chrome. Like I mean, that would have been like just a beautiful shiny diamond,
You're
basically.
asking way too much of them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, so I noticed earlier to your point for Ty Gibbs' car last year, that black interstate car he ran that had the green lightning on it or whatever,
Yeah.
they dicked that car all up. It's like gray, and it looks like a wrap where the seams come together and you can see all the lines in the decal seams. It looks like somebody like literally like one of these bad amateur custom guys did it. So
Yeah.
anyway. So now that people have heard us BS about diecast enough, we'll shift to the number one diecast seller in like all of motorsports history, Dale Jr., where he announced this week partnership with Traveler Whiskey, which is under Buffalo Trace, and with Chris Stapleton for their Daytona 500 entry. It's Junior Motorsports' first Cup entry in you know the field, which if you've ever listened to Dale Jr. Download, whether it's the dirty air segments or anything, he's always talked about just how expensive under the current charter model there it is to buy a charter, especially once the values went up into the from the 10 million range to 20, 30, 40 million at the high, that they were kind of looking at staying away from that. So that was a big shock to see them even like dip their toe in the water. They said, he and Kelly said at the announcement, and I don't know if either one of you had a chance to either listen to that podcast he did with Chris and with Justin, but they said they don't know where they're going to go from here. This is just like we'll see how this goes. But I was first very shocked. I think this is our first whiskey car in quite a while, other than the Rebel Bourbon from
Yeah. That's
Kyle Busch. So like
right.
it's nice to see, we had that era, Clint, with Clint and Jack Daniels, Kenseth, the Crown Royal, Jeremiah Weed, uh,
Well,
Jim
we had
Beam. We had all these
Jim
different,
Beam.
yep, we had all these different Robbie Gordon with those. And before that it was Dave Blaney, Blaney's father, running the Jack Daniels car. Like it's nice to see some of the, NASCAR tried to switch to the more kid friendly, like they pushed out the cigarette companies. Okay, fine. They don't really want the vape companies, but now we've got the chews and the nicotine packets and stuff.
Pushed out the hard liquor for a while.
Yeah, they pushed out the hard liquor for a
Oh,
while.
the cigarettes was the government.
Yeah.
The government pushed that out.
So it's just nice to see some of these kind of sponsors returning.
Yeah.
But so that was, to me, like that happened last week while I was on vacation after we did our, or not vacation, but work after we did our other episode. So that was a big, uh, probably like the big bombshell other than the Helio news for the rule adjustment is going to be the biggest storyline for, especially since Helio is going to guarantee make the race. That'll probably be the storyline for the entire, from pole qualifying all the way through the duels to the Daytona 500. And it'll definitely I think, put an emphasis on the OEP. You just came out with this rule, the OEP. NASCAR has said, your guy who now quit, Chip Ganassi has said like he'd invest in a race team with Dale Jr. for Cup. Harvick has said like it would be the best thing that could happen for NASCAR is Dale Jr. to go to Cup. these different people have talked about it. Okay, now he's going to do it, and he's not even guaranteed a spot in the field. So they're running as an open car, and we're going to have more open spots or more cars than there are spots in the field. So I'm very curious. I mean, they're going to be partnered with HMS, so they're probably going to have like a rocket ship of a car. But I wonder if
And
NASCAR revisits its OEP if literally Junior's foray into Cup doesn't even make the field. Like that would be shocking.
Here's my thing with it is if if Junior has any thoughts about being full time,
Yeah.
just the merchandise alone
Oh yeah.
from the one car that's not even in the field yet.
Yep.
They sold out in a day
Yep.
of with Lionel Racing and the diecast on all scales, on all finishes,
And
on
they've
all
set the numbers
autographers.
low. That's the other thing.
But the fact that it's sold out for not Junior's not driving the car, guys. He just owns
Yep.
it, and Justin Allgaier is going to benefit from this because of his link to Junior. But if this says anything, Junior should be going. You know what? Merchandise alone, we need to pull the trigger.
Yep. Literally. So I just went to Lionel Racing. I was pretty sure this was the case already, but I just wanted to double check. At least through Lionel, and a couple days ago, you could still get it through Plan B or First Class or your other outlets, but I didn't expect that to last long now that Lionel's been sold out. But every iteration of this car through Lionel is sold out.
Yeah.
And the numbers are low. They're only making 50 of the Premier Elites when they can make up to 100, so that's kind of shocking in itself. They're only making 100 of the dual auto elite. I like that they're sticking to low numbers there. Dale Jr., they used to make tens of thousands. So it means this car will be, it should hold its value. That's good. The regular elite, they're making 447. That's about average. They usually make about 500 max. But the special finishes, they're only making 24 each. So none of it's made,
wow.
special finishes used to be made to order. So, and usually are. So that's kind of
I'm
shocking.
telling you, these cars have already been produced. It
Yep.
has to be.
Yeah, or they're in production right now, which makes me think. So if we go back to 2015? Yeah, 2015 when he ran the Xbox car, or not, yeah, the Xbox Halo car, where it was a limited run. I
Mhm.
think that is kind of how this was. Like you had to do it in a very certain time frame, or like the Gravedigger car for Harvick. Uh, you had to have it for licensing purposes in by a certain point for it to be created, is what I'm thinking.
I bet you. I bet you that this car gets reissued, re uh, put out a second time.
I think it, we don't even know what the rest of the paint schemes are for the year for a lot of drivers, for even their primaries. Denny Hamlin's lost tons of sponsors. But they've lost FedEx, they've lost Mavis, which is kind of surprising. They won a lot for Mavis last year. I kind of thought they were going to stick around. Um, but and the reason why I bring that up is we don't even know what some of these other teams prime they are going to run the full season, what their sponsors are going to be, or where some of these guys like we still don't know what Corey's doing. And they dropped this car for Junior. It's already fully sold out. And if they had left it made to order, it probably would be the highest selling diecast of the year. And we haven't even run a single lap under green yet in any
Yep.
race. And it would probably be the number one selling diecast of the year. I
It's
can't think of
it's a good
anybody
looking
else.
car. It's connected to Chris Stapleton.
Yep.
It's it's uh it's got a unique story to it with it being number 40 and it's you know flavor 40 or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
it.
Their 40th release.
Blend
Yeah.
blend
Their first
40
one.
and it's a junior motorsports car. The whole thing is neat. Um I definitely think, like I said, I believe this will just the souvenirs alone. Junior's gonna have to go. You know what? This might be worth it.
This, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Budweiser money, like the Budweiser car that he did for the late model by any means for him, because it's not him driving it. But if you think about it and you look at it from that merchandise standpoint, and then I think about, I know you and I talked about it. I don't know how much of the podcasts you listen to, Chris, but I like the Business of Motorsport series with Kelly Earnhardt, where she gets the different executives from whether it's, because she used to work for Action Performance before she worked for JRM,
Yeah.
and So she had Rick Hendrick on, but she also had the chief marketing officer for the sports side of Budweiser come on there that did the Bud deal. And the reason why I bring that up is I'm thinking about the licensing, to your point, Blake, about this car. Rick Hendrick said when he first, hired them on and they were meeting with Pepsi and National Guard, that he learned something that day with Kelly negotiating because of what she learned from her father with the name and likeness and everything like that, and through Teresa and everything. So apparently, National Guard and Pepsi were like, we need this much of the revenue from the merchandise sales to pay to be able to complete the contract. And Kelly just closed her notebook and was like, no deal. And Rick Hendrick was like, whoa, 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 hold on. Like he like pulled her aside, like, maybe we haven't even started negotiating yet. Like, maybe we need to, he's like, and I learned something that day, like, because she won. Like, no, the Earnhardt name, we dictate the terms. It doesn't matter how big your brand. We're talking about the U.S. National Guard and PepsiCo, which owns Lay's and all these other brands. And she's like, nope. I mean, these are billion-dollar investments, and these are the terms. We get all the merchandise money. He's like, I remember when I got that first merchandise check, it was like the number of zeros and everything that year. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious, like to your point, Blake, about the merchandising, like I'm really just surprised that they set the numbers at a hard limit because this is kind of, you don't really see cars sell out that fast. I mean, and again, it's Justin Algaier. It's not Dale Jr. driving. It's Justin Algaier. Now he
I
did just win
I
a
kind of want
championship,
to call my contact line out tomorrow and go, hey, what's contingency on how many's in contingency for the special finishes?
and they only made liquid color and color chrome, no raw. Obviously, we
Yeah,
don't have diamond anymore.
No
No flash
Galaxy.
coat, no galaxy color, no
yeah.
gold.
No, I mean, if there's only 24, how many people are in line hoping is what I'm saying. How many people
Somebody
are in
backs
line
out,
hoping?
fails on payment.
Because this car back here we just talked about, I was 51 of 48. I
Yeah.
was third in line, and it was 3 weeks after that I got the bill. Like
But when you got yours, I was really hoping that you weren't going to get a damaged one that somebody sent back. I was like, oh, man, it's been so long. I'm really hoping it wasn't
the
a
tissue
return with
paper
damage.
hadn't been touched.
That alone was what made it crazy to me. Like that they was still
Yeah,
sitting there somehow. Either they forgot about it or whatever.
yeah,
So from
Somebody didn't get their payment shit right.
yep.
yeah. I was told by somebody else that so the way it works is say okay, number 48 backs out, or somebody in the top 48 backs out, or it doesn't pay. 49, the first person in line gets gets told, hey, or they try to bill him, but if it doesn't go through, they can give them up to a week
Okay.
to pay, and then if that doesn't work, it goes to the next, and then the next. So it can take up to a week to find out that it's going to 50, and then to 51. So there's a potential that I was because it was 3 weeks after they built the first cars.
Okay. So that makes
So
sense.
there's a potential that I was third in line, but got the first available one that was not paid for.
And the other thing I learned with these gold cars, just as a separate discussion point, with that Budweiser car, for Harvick in 2023. Apparently, the Lionel executives can request to be on the wait list because when I talked to Sharon about it and I put myself on the wait list for it, which is actually how I ended up getting it. She said that she had her boss was on the wait list, not Thomas, but like one of her like sales bosses or whatever. And I was like, really? I didn't think you guys had the option to buy like as like basically buy out from under members, unlimited pieces. So I'm kind of surprised.
Well, I
Um,
think I think the thing to look at there though is that they're doing it the right way.
yeah,
Like they're in line. They're not in front of everybody. They're probably
yeah,
fourth or fifth in
yeah.
line.
Definitely not accusing them of any type of impropriety there. I just think
Yeah,
that was interesting that she said that that's the first time I'd heard something like that. So it's going to be a Hendrick affiliated car and fieldable car. Do we think Justin makes the show based
But
on it's an HMS car?
Justin's always been strong with restrictor plates, so
Well,
it's almost impossible to say he's not.
well, I think that the motor under the hood, he'll qualify in the top 10 easily, and that, he'll be in on speed, and he won't have to race his way in.
Yeah,
I,
that's what I was thinking.
I think he'll be inside the top 10. It would not surprise me if it was one of those like, oh, this shit is rigged. He gets the pole. That won't surprise me in the least bit. I think that
Well,
I think you could have
I
said the same thing for Helio going in, but now that Junior's declared, like, all right, we're putting our car on the grid, like I think you
I
can almost
wanted to say the
guarantee.
same thing about the poll, but last year a Ford won the poll for every single
Yeah,
drafting track.
yeah, the
I
new
just
body
don't
is stout when it comes to those
I
races.
don't I don't see a Chevrolet being on the pole, especially with the being the last year of the Camaro. I think
I,
he'll be in the top 10 because Hendrick always qualifies all four cars in the top 10
Yeah,
at Daytona, but it won't be the pole. He'll be top 10 and he'll make it in on speed.
yeah, but
Uh,
I think they finally took into account the fact that because they had what well shit, it was Bowman had what 6 poles, 7 poles in a row,
yep.
Six
Oh, for
front row
Daytona, yeah, he
starting.
sat on the front row for year after year after year.
but
It
or
wasn't
not poles,
necessarily a
but just
pole,
front
but it was
row.
front row.
But I think Hendrick as a company, as an organization, finally came to the realization, well, hey dummies, we don't necessarily have to go out. I mean, we're starting up front every time, but we don't finish there.
Yeah,
So
straight line
Well,
speed
Hendrick
versus
Hendrick takes a
handling
lot
speed,
of
not the
pride.
same thing.
Hendrick takes a lot of pride by being on the pole for Daytona. That's one of
well,
his main goals is to be on the pole.
I understand that, but at what cost though? They've been on the pole how many years in a row, and what did it yield for
They don't.
them?
I mean,
You went back where it seemed like all of a sudden, instead of worrying about being on the pole every damn time, they finally went through, toned it down a little bit, still qualified in the top 10, but you had a 1-2 finish.
Yep, much better. They had better handling cars.
well, yeah. After they took out half the field,
Well, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Look
This
in your running
nitpicking
line.
The
motherfucker.
24 took out half the field. What do you expect?
Well, somebody's got to do it. Can't be Brad every time, damn it.
Right.
Wasn't Brad pushing him? I'm just
Probably.
kidding.
Brad or Joey or Blaney, one of them.
One of them was pushing him, I'm
Or
sure.
Hosabar.
Yep.
But I think that I think the potential's there, not necessarily for the Hendrick cars to ultimately go out. I think that team has changed that approach a little bit. But if you but they definitely know how to build a car that will go out and qualify on the pole. And I think that's a huge possibility, not to ultimately get the race win, but to guarantee that 40 car in the field. I think we may see. I don't think we'll see a complete Ford front row this year though.
No, probably not.
I think so.
All right.
I think it'll be a 34 and a 22 on the front row again.
I don't know. I think not having McDowell will be a
I
difference.
was gonna say not having McDowell in that car is gonna
You
change a
know, they've
lot.
got a I have a lot of upside that I think is going to happen. Like when we talked about who could possibly win a couple episodes back, but I don't think FRM is going to be there yet because they've lost all their, their depth in terms of
We're talking about qualifying laps here, not
right,
race.
but at the end of the day, you got to have, yeah, you're going to engineer it and set it up and everything there, but you still have to know where to, how to hold that line and the right arc and everything like that. Like that still comes down to experience. They
I
try to
believe
say anybody can drive these cars, but I don't really think that's
Todd qualified third last year, I believe, and he
so.
got a pole somewhere, and he got another front row start, I believe, at Talladega. So
But you're
that's
going to
why I
have
said it.
Gregson, Zane Smith, and Gilliland. So that'll be it's a really young crop. Like I see a lot of upside for them long term.
Zane Smith, I think, is going to be good
Yeah,
if he doesn't get lost in the shuffle with all this bullshit that's going on.
yeah.
Um, Gregson, after watching what he's done everywhere but the Cup Series, the kid has potential, but Gilliland is another one that worries me now. That basically what I based my first comment off of, saying that I don't necessarily see that 34 being on the pole, is Gilliland is definitely proved with the shit that happened at KBM.
Mm-hmm.
Without that leadership of McDowell there, he might be his own worst enemy. I
Yep.
mean, it's I think they're kind of hoping that he'll step up and be the leader of that team, but I don't know that the kid's matured enough. They're fast, but I also think he had that leadership of McDowell, which is great with he's always, from what I've seen, been great with younger drivers. He is a leader, not necessarily been a driver that goes out and has won handfuls of races, but he seems to at least be able to bring those guys in and give them some kind of direction that seems to work for him. And I'm kind of afraid with how young of a few or of a group of drivers they have there that I'm hoping that this doesn't just I hope they didn't knock their dick in the dirt by getting rid of that leadership.
So following the junior 500 announcement, we had some other announcements in terms of drivers and who's going to participate. So we knew last year that Truex wanted to return and at least run the Daytona 500 one more time. I thought he was scheduled to run that with 2311, but now that they've picked up their third charter, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, at least not through the 2311 banner. They're going to do it with Tricon Garage. So I'm curious what, if any, partnerships there are, since, Toyota doesn't have that many, total cars on track. How that's going to work. He's going to have Cole Pern back, so I think that's in his favor. And he's running the 56, which is what he ran under MWR. So I think all that's good. I'm just curious, with it being this side car that's never, another team that's never been in the Cup Garage, technically, even though you're going to have these affiliations of some kind.
Is
Do you
Tricon
think,
even
do you
in
think he'll
Xfinity?
make it?
No, Tricon's just trucks.
Yeah,
I would imagine, and this is just speculation, but I would imagine that it is going to be a Gibbs car due
yep.
to the 2311 thing falling through. I would say it's going to be a Gibbs car prepared by Gibbs, just ran under a Tricon banner because I believe Tricon is affiliated with Gibbs
Okay.
through Toyota in some way.
I read through the article. I didn't see anything in there attributing to JGR, but I would have to agree that's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when some of those drivers got moved around. I'm trying to remember. I don't really remember any of those drivers that got picked up and moved into Xfinity that ever came from Tricon to have that
Mm-mm.
Well,
tie. But that doesn't.
Corey Hine went from KBM and through to Tricon.
That's true.
And
Yeah, I forgot he went to the one truck for a little bit. He went to the one before he ended up in the 11.
With that being said, if it is a Gibbs car, whether it's a Gibbs car or 2311 car, Toyotas don't qualify well, so MTJ will have to make the field on through the duels. Guaranteed.
He has a
Guaranteed.
bad history getting wrecked, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I honestly, he is the first name, in my opinion, that will not make it.
Yep, I agree with you. I could see him not qualifying, not through any means of his own, but again, I think they've listed like there's only 4 open spots.
9 cars counting
Yeah, there's
Helio.
9 cars that are going to be attempting. I don't even know who all of them are. There's some of them that are names I haven't even heard, like Burt Myers with this.
Hold
So
on, you're thinking of the wrong race.
You're right.
Burt Myers is for the
Clash.
The Clash.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, we're going to have a lot of people and only 4 spots, and you don't even have to count Helio because Helio has his own spot. So
is that something that NASCAR ultimately clarified? Is there's only one team that can apply for that?
no, they haven't applied listed that as a limit for 1 per race. So it just said the 41st spot. They didn't say anything about a 42nd spot. So I agree. I still think that's
I just think that so in other words, they probably just fucked around too long setting this deal with Truex and missed the opportunity to apply because didn't it have to be within X amount of days beforehand?
Yeah, it had to be 90 days out. So and with all the legal stuff surrounding them, that probably played a big part in it, would be my guess. The legal stuff surrounding 2311, because he had additionally said, so the reason why I'm circling back to this 2311 deal, so Denny had already said if Truex wanted to run, he'd field a car. Well, we believe it's going to be Gibbs that runs it. But the other person, Denny said, that would have a seat if And when they got healthy was Kurt Busch. And Kurt Busch has officially been cleared to race again by the doctors, and he's going to race
Yeah.
in the race of champions.
Yeah.
So do you think you see Kurt come back to NASCAR at some point? I mean, he was literally on time to make the pole in that race when he backed it in the wall and got his concussion.
I think that we'll see him do a farewell race. I think it will be probably
Vegas.
at a Las Vegas
Yeah.
or possibly Bristol because he was very good at Bristol.
Yep.
That's where he's got his first win at was Bristol. So
That's where he's got the
I
most
think
wins at too.
Yep.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that he'll have a farewell race. I don't think he'll do races because there's always that chance. And this is something I always think about with Junior. He's been so lucky with these one offs he's done in Xfinity and the Cars Tour too. He hasn't been in a wreck. And only thing Junior needs is one more hit, and he's probably done. Like so same thing goes for Kurt. You
Yep.
can't risk having another hit, so that's why I say one more race, a farewell race to end his career. That's what I would do if I was him. If I did it at all, I'm kind of surprised he's doing this race of champions thing because those cars are insane and they're hanging them out on the edge and stuff. So
Mhm.
but we'll see.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
depending on what kind of track they run, it's not high speed. So I mean that
And
that
that's kind of what
limits.
I was thinking was to your point, Chris, like if he was going to come back and run it, Bristol makes sense to me for if he was going to come back and do a tribute race since he didn't get to do his traditional like every other driver if he was going to come back. I think he
Yeah,
will.
Vegas would be rough though because if he gets in a wreck, that's gonna be a hard
Well, that's
fucking
just
hit.
it. Vegas, you actually, I think, well, don't get me wrong, we see big hits at Daytona and Talladega, especially if they get airborne and things like that. But when they're crashing in a group, the hits are less hard because they're all moving at the same speed. Where if you wreck independently at somewhere like Vegas and you're going off in the corner at 190 something mile an hour and you solo back that sucker in the wall or get hooked and T-boned in by accident, that I think that's a harder hit than Daytona, truthfully.
I'm gonna
Junior's
go off. I
Junior's
mean,
second to last concussion came at Talladega, and it looked like he barely got hit.
Right. And
well,
then
but he was already fucked up too, though.
yeah,
So that
Yeah,
he had self-admittedly had been racing when he probably shouldn't have been.
yeah,
yeah, he had
It just took
that
like a
testing
little
crash at Kansas, was it?
because he had said he had never allowed his brain to heal right in the first place. I remember him talking about that, and I don't remember exactly the words he used, but
I mean, granted, this was pre safer barrier, but I watched uh, I watched. I don't know if that paused me or not. My dad called in.
No, he
Um,
didn't.
it just flashed.
I
That's all.
I watched Vegas, like I said, pre safer barrier, but Austin Terrio driving a Brad Keselowski racing truck.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the kid's been back, but it ended his fucking career. I mean, they had to life flight him out of there. You hit the wall so hard coming off of turn 4 in Vegas. I
yeah.
mean, that even still, that track just carries a ton of speed.
Well, Vegas, you can just the way the walls are positioned and stuff. Like I remember in the COT Nicorette car in 2008. It's either 8
7
or 9 when
or yeah, it was
Gordon
8.
He was
got
late.
hooked into the back wall where the wall does like this, and it like ripped the whole front of the damn car off. And he said it was one of the hardest hits he'd ever taken. And I was
Yep.
in Pocono when he hit the damn wall driver's side going in with no brakes. And he said
Yeah.
that hit in Vegas was harder than that. So, which is just crazy. Like Vegas, just the way it's designed and laid out with the um, progressive style, entry and exits
Yep.
back and the bank back straightaway. Like it's just ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
So,
So,
and
I mean, I don't know. I could see it being in Vegas just because that's where he's from, but a short track would definitely make a hell of a lot more sense. And he was always good at the short tracks. Like I said, first win at Bristol, most
yep.
wins I think that he had in his career at any track were at Bristol, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I logically I see him coming back there, and we lost our Blake. He quit on us.
Nap time.
Thought we said no bathroom breaks, Blake. What the F? But yeah, I think the most logical is that the race of champions, I think is kind of like Blake said, a little crazy just because these cars definitely different from a safety standard perspective, a little bit more vulnerable maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly, but again, like I said, I don't think running the rally style like that where the car is hung out. I mean, even though they're kind of a high horsepower, it's not necessarily high speed, so it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, there's lots of throttle modulation and um, variable speeds. Like there's fast, there's slow, they're fast in and out of the corners. They're never
Well, my
sustained high speed.
my
So I
point
don't
to
see.
that is if he hung it out and he hits the wall because he's going too hard because he hasn't been in a car in 2 years and he hits the wall just right, he's cooked.
Yeah.
That's going to be at any track, though, dude.
Yeah, I'm just saying I wouldn't have chose that style of racing to come back to because those guys screw up all the time. And
Yeah. So on the Daytona 500 side of the house, the one other piece, besides it's being listed as sold out, um, NASCAR shockingly did not approve Mike Wallace to compete, which is I say that's shocking only because up to this point, like basically anybody with a credit card or a funding line of credit can get in a race car and go race for the most part. Like we see kids with
unless
money
your
all the
name's
time.
Jennifer Joe Cobb.
Yep. Like we've only really seen them deny a handful of people. So I wasn't really expecting, especially because Mike Wallace has run plenty of plate places in the past and run well and doesn't tend to cause a lot of problems. So I was kind of surprised to see them say no to him compared to,
Well, he said that he was told by a NASCAR executive a week before that, you're good to go. And then I guess they rethought about it and they're like, this guy hasn't touched a race car in what was it, 10, 15 years.
something like that. Yep.
Maybe we ought to look at this again.
No, it's been five years, 5 full years since he was last in a race car.
In a NASCAR race car or just in a race car?
Um, I believe Mike ran limited schedule. He was helping fill in. Um, uh, I forget the
Was
name
it
of the
Truck
team now,
Series
but
guy?
they run the 0 and the 4, the one where
Okay.
Chastain come from,
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
the Flex Seal card.
Yeah, on the I can't remember their name, but I know who you're
Yeah,
talking.
I can't remember the name of it either now.
And I guess the reason why I think this is interesting is so they're not approving Mike, but we
You're
definitely
proving
have seen
Helio.
some people that are definitely not mature enough, experienced enough to be in the cup cars at this level yet, out there making moves they shouldn't have been. And I'm just curious if this is NASCAR starting to take a more serious look at their how they issue licenses and who can race at their premier series,
I mean,
which is
honestly,
it's
I
kind of
think
two-handed.
I think they should have at least given him an honest chance and said, "Hey, we understand you haven't necessarily been in here. You're going to have to run something in the next month or so. There's
Yep.
shit out there that he can run. There's cars he can get in, but the big test would be go out and see if he can. I mean, even though Helio's coming from being an active driver, at least give him the opportunity to run the damn ARCA race.
So that's my issue with this. I don't have a problem
That's
with them saying you're too old and you haven't raced anything current in a while, so you're not, you definitely haven't raced this car, let alone you barely raced the Gen 6. So, and there's been a lot of changes since then. So I'm okay with them saying interim no, but my issue is to your point, we're giving Helio a free pass, automatic entry, as long as he meets the requirements. We can't at least let Mike see if he can qualify if he meets the same requirements. If he goes and runs the ARCA race or runs the Xfinity
exactly.
race or the truck race,
Yep.
he can't
But
Or
still
all of
qualify.
the above.
Why
There's no
not?
reason why he couldn't run all of the above.
Right. If he ran all the precursors and he ran fine, why would you not grant him entry? I don't,
but
it just doesn't make any sense.
you agreed with it though, right, Alan?
I think overall, I don't really think at this point, this age, that he really has any
He's
business in a race car any more than I thought Carl Long did, or what's the really old
Morgan
guy's name that
Shepherd.
used to, Morgan Shepherd, and the other guy that used to sign up all the time, back when, there was the Champions Provisionals and all that stuff before we had the charter system and everything.
Um, um,
It'll
Here's
come.
my viewpoint on that
But
though.
either way, my point is if you're gonna give somebody who has never done anything for NASCAR an automatic free entry because of their racing resume, the Wallace family as a whole, Kenny, Mike, Rusty, have poured their lives into this sport I don't feel like it's fair to, even though I don't think he really belongs on the racetrack anymore because of, you lose something with age and your vision and everything like that. But they make corrective lenses, things like that. He at least deserves the same fair chance to make it that Helio does. What's good for one should be good for the other. He doesn't need the OEP, but he should at least have the option to go run the ARCA race and then try and qualify. If he does fine in that, he has a preliminary entry into the qualifiers and pole qualifying. As long as he meets the requirements under ARCA or truck or Xfinity,
Well,
he can qualify.
I don't know if you thought about this though. It's NASCAR making the decision.
Well, yeah, that's just it. But again, they're in one hand, they're like, we want to we
I
want
know,
to
but
we made all these rule changes, we're going to do all this stuff,
they've
and we're
never
going to
been
try and do
consistent.
better
So why
about
start now?
consistency about our officiating, and we don't want to be the story. And you're right out of the gate. Here's a rule we made that didn't need to be made just for, special
Yeah,
circumstances.
Yeah,
And then you've
I
got a
didn't agree
person.
with it because this guy, he may not have never, he may have never won a cup race, but by God, he was always good at plate tracks.
Mhm.
oh, always.
He was always good, and he ran well. To my recollection, he never really started anything
Nope.
wreck wise, and he ran well in Cup, in Busch, and trucks. I mean, across the board, he was one of the best plate track drivers there was. So to tell him no, I think was a total bullshit move.
Yep. Like I said, my issue is just the fairness and the application of your process to get in the race.
Yeah.
If one has to go do a preliminary run in a lower series to prove they deserve to be there,
Why isn't he given the
how is the
same?
same test circumstance not required for the other?
Yeah, and then they tell him, oh, maybe next year. Like,
So if I
yeah,
didn't
I don't like that part.
because age goes the other direction. Sure.
Yeah.
see, because and that would go right back to what me and Alan just brought up. So if you telling me maybe not next year, so then what the fuck do I got to do to what are the requirements? What's the qualifications then? And why do I not have the opportunity to prove it now? Well, like Helio, which has never sat in any of these cars. Period.
Yep. So Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle batted around last year in one of their podcasts that NASCAR really needs to look at its licensing system because Formula One, you get awarded a super license based off of championships, race wins, the caliber of the wins, etc. And we talked about this in one of our earlier podcasts, that I really feel like NASCAR drivers, in order, especially to make themselves marketable, anybody shouldn't just be able to show up and get a NASCAR license, especially at the top level. So Mike Wallace competed for years at the top level. Whether he won or not is irrelevant. You look at his track record history and everything. But if we had a better license system at the Cup Series, Helio could qualify based off of his world, you know, recognizable racing resume. But to me, Mike Wallace would probably still be able to renew his NASCAR license if they had a better system under all of his past body of work. And if he had known there was a set structure on how to keep it current, maybe he would have been running, little side events to keep it current. Maybe Mark Martin would have kept his current. Different guys could always like, hey, maybe the
And,
opportunity comes, I want to dip my toe in, I'll just keep it current.
and that was gonna be my other point that I brought up is the fact that they announced, wasn't it back the week of Christmas when they started talking about Mike going to run?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went 3 weeks before telling this guy no.
Yep. He's got sponsors lined up. The team's getting stuff
That's
lined
that's
up,
the thing I was gonna say.
and they've got to
This
go find
didn't
another
just
driver.
screw Mike Wallace. This screwed the team, the
The
sponsor.
sponsors.
Like it. I don't think NASCAR looked at this at all. I mean, you really. I mean, NBM is really out to dry right here because
Yeah.
they might not find another sponsor. Because honestly, with the drivers out there, Mike Wallace was your best chance to make the 500 with
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
drafting. You weren't going to make it on speed, but with his
but he was going
drafting
to make it to a
ability,
duel.
he was potentially. I mean, there are 9 other cars out there you're facing, but he was potentially going to be able to make it in off his skill.
Well,
And
let's
now,
look at who else was in who else has to qualify in on time. So Alfredo, you've got Helio.
62, 91,
Who else? Um,
40.
yep. Algaier, Like I would put my money, honestly, I'd put my money on Mike Wallace over some of those other guys because he's going to be more, his years of experience are where he's going to beat somebody like an Alfredo for a spot or Helio for a spot because he understands when to push it and when not to. So I think Helio would be playing it safe anyway. So there's a guaranteed spot. So now you're racing, let's say 6 people. I think he'll beat Alfredo. He'll probably have a better car.
Oh
And
yeah.
even if he didn't, he knows how to use his car.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you'd even have to have a better car to beat Alfredo.
Yep.
Honestly, just for the simple fact of his. I mean, he's been another one, which I know a lot of people don't get it because he never seemed to be relevant.
And
in
he
the
was
Cup
going to be in a
Series.
Ford. So he was going to be in a fast
He's
car.
gonna be fast, yeah.
So, I just,
who was going to be in a Ford?
Mike Wallace, he was going to be in a
Mike
Ford.
Wallace.
MBM was going
MBM
to field a
switching?
Ford Dark Horse. So
They were Toyota.
it says here they were in the article, they were going to be a Ford.
Oh wow.
They were going to enter in the number 66 Ford Dark Horse Mustang. So that alone, which was also the Arby's car last year, remember?
Yeah.
No, those
Was that Toyota at Bristol or was it a
it
Ford?
was a Toyota then, but
No, it was a moving chicane. That's what it was at Bristol.
right. But in this
Whatever.
one race, if your goal, because it's one of the highest paying races, I would spend the extra money to get like at least a B-line motor because I think you can win with a B-line motor, honestly, if you
Yeah.
play your cards right. I mean, look at what Spire was able to do with Corey before they got really partnered up with HMS and stuff like that through the technical alliances. So I really think, now he is 65 years old. So that's where I say the one thing Mark Martin competed into his 50s. I do think he's too old from a safety perspective to be out there, but I mean, all these guys, that's what they sign up for. That's his decision. Now, if you're saying he's too
55
old,
don't matter.
if NASCAR
Red
says he's
Farmer's
too
still
old,
driving dirt late models
yeah,
in his 90s.
Red Farmer won a race at what was he 97 last year?
yeah.
Yeah, like
Well,
there's
all I'm saying with that
55
is,
ain't shit.
But yeah, I'm not saying he can't do it, but in the Cup Series, he shouldn't be doing it.
right. All I'm
That's the
saying is,
point.
if you're going to set restrictions, just make them clear. Like you have to be 18 to race to be able to be eligible to go Cup racing. Are you saying 65 is the cutoff? Is it 55? What's the, if maybe these things are set and they just don't outline them out in the public. We know 18 is the minimum to get in a Cup car. I just wish they would lay out the requirements to get behind the wheel of a Cup car nice and clear. Like no matter who you are, here's the requirements. You need to have run X number of laps without incident at these series, be this old, done. And then if you can get a ride, you qualify. You can attempt to qualify and then, you're on your own. But that would just be my point of contention. Like I said, it's just not, I didn't plan to spend this much time on a Mike Wallace discussion, but it's just more, it goes back to our
Well, I
rules
mean,
discussion last
it's
week.
part of the story. I mean,
Equal application of the rules not being equal. And I think had his name not been Mike Wallace, let me ask you this. All right, so Mark Martin's been retired for a while. Mark Martin still works out every day. He has his training regimen and everything. If Mark Martin said he wanted to come run a cup race, do you think they would tell him no? I don't think
no.
they would.
I don't think they
It
would.
don't matter what race it was. They're like, sure, welcome back.
I
Yeah.
think same thing with Rusty Wallace. Like your more well-known names, Hall of Famers. I think if they said they wanted to come do it, I think they would have given them the Helio treatment of, okay, yeah, it's been a while since you've been in a car. Why don't you go over here and run this, make sure everything is still, all your sensory is firing at all 4 cylinders. We're going to do like the brain, the scan for the baseline. We're going to make you do that eye finger touch reflex thing because
Yep,
at the
I
end
was
of the
gonna
day,
say
we're
that.
talking 200-mile-an-hour pinballs. So I think all that's fair. I just think the fact that it's Mike Wallace and not Rusty Wallace or Mike Wallace and not, you know, Mark Martin plays a factor into it. It shouldn't. The name should not matter.
It shouldn't. But I think they took the. We were only looking at the wall ride approach on this one.
Yep. Yep.
and Mike got screwed.
Yep. We saw you ride the wall for half of it. Granted, your brakes failed or you overdrove the corner, so you wall rode.
Yeah.
Your throttle was stuck and your brakes were not working, but you know what? Sorry.
He rode the wall.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying they I think they were too busy looking at the fact of bringing someone like Helio in than they were.
Yeah.
ultimately making a decision on him and letting him know, and working with everybody to get in the show. And yeah, I just think it was poor form ultimately is all it boils down to. Again, typical NASCAR, no consistency, no, yeah, it just it for me. I know a lot of the newer fans aren't going to get this, but man, that's just bad business. That's bad, not bad business, but that's for me, that's a bad look, especially for somebody like you brought up earlier between Mike, Rusty, and Kenny. Those guys have done, even though people nowadays don't necessarily know some of the names. Those guys have done more things for this sport that and forgot about them than a lot of these guys will ever
and still do. Like it,
yeah.
and even though NASCAR did them wrong in certain scenarios, with the Speed Channel and then FS1 and stuff like that, Kenny still. And then I don't know how much y'all listen to him. I've listened to Coffee with Kenny or his little stuff, and now he's got the thing with Schrader under Dale Jr. But
Yeah, it's
for
pretty funny.
years he talked about even though he had all that TV money and everything, and now he doesn't do that, and the way Fox treated him, Jimmy Spencer, uh, you know, John Roberts, etc., and kind of like, y'all are the old guard, we want a new audience. They kind of like pushed them out to the side. They still invest their time in this sport when they have every reason not to. When NASCAR basically was like, you're old news, we want a new face. So to that point of, the Wallace family, Rusty with MRN, Kenny with Dale Jr. Download, now partnering. Before that, had his own independent podcast. You know, Mike has done stuff like they've given so much, like, and you're just very flippant about like, yeah, you're good. We changed your mind, you're not. But this guy over here who's never been in a NASCAR car, period, he gets an automatic start. Like that's just it's
Yeah,
just
not
wrong.
yeah, and just an automatic pass.
Yep. Helio, I think if you put them both out there at the same time, Helio could be bouncing all over the place. Ain't gonna matter.
I think NASCAR was trying to do kind of what IndyCar did with Larson last year with Helio. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's a good point. So we talked about this a little bit last week in between. That and I think I said it that you know under the current charter deal, something that I don't remember if I said it during our discussion or not, but I would like to see the Daytona 500 be treated the same way the Indy 500 is treated under IRL. Even
Yep.
Rogers' own charter teams are not guaranteed a spot in the Indy 500 because one of the points Jeff Gluck made, and I don't remember if we made it or not, but I 100% wholeheartedly agreed. One, the OEP solves a problem that didn't exist. More than likely, Helio is going to qualify in anyway. He's going to be with a good team, most likely. And if he doesn't, then all that does is make it look harder. Like it adds to the prestige of the race. Where,
Yes.
Fernando Alonso came to Indy and failed to qualify for the Indy 500 the first time. That only showed how much harder it was to be an IndyCar driver. That it's not as easy as the F1 guys. Oh, it's all open wheel. We're better. No, it's actually not all the same. It is actually really hard. Frank Heedy came over here, did not do well. Juan
and you and you have
struggled.
a guy from dirt and fucking stock car background came out went out and was looked like he was going to finish fourth or fifth.
Right.
That's pretty
And
funny.
that's just like, but so the OEP cheapens this the prestige of this race. And I think had they, to the Mike Wallace point, then he doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
I
Everybody
personally
has a
think the
spot.
charter system lowers the prestige of the race.
Yeah. Well, I think you can have the charter system and still follow the method that Roger had, which was I'm actually surprised he got all the players that have helped build Indy to do it, but I think they understand that the Indy 500 is bigger than themselves, which is awesome that they were able to look at it that way
Well,
from
it's
a bigger lens.
there's so many people that they think that's the only damn race that there is all year.
Right. It is the biggest race in the world, so I think it is fantastic that, they're treating it with the prestige that it
which
is. Like nobody is
which
guaranteed a spot.
I think it's a provision that if NASCAR was willing to look at it, I don't know how much they would be willing to sit and listen to something like this. But looking at the fact of what you just explained, where it doesn't matter whether you're a full-time team or not, you're not guaranteed to make that race. And I think where these guys would get pissed and these guys would try and push back, well, we have a charter, we should be in the race. Well, that charter says you just have to attempt.
Yeah.
Doesn't say you have to actually be in the race. It just says you have to attempt it.
And
No,
again,
it
the
doesn't.
IndyCar guys, they've all got charters, but they all understand that this is the biggest race in the world. We want the best, the 28, the 38, whatever their starting field is that year. We want the absolute best, period. And that's,
93.
that's how the Daytona 500 should be. That's how the Indy 500 should be. That's how the Brickyard 400 should be, the Coke 600. Our big marquee events, you should want our singular goal as race fans. I think we agree is when I tune in at that level, and I understand key point being there are levels. I want to see the best X number of drivers at that level on the track. I don't want somebody who shouldn't be there interrupting the show, kind of like what we saw with the Chili Bowl, where you've got world-class drivers here, mid-class, lower class, and as a result, you can't get a completely good race and a good run put together because you got people that really shouldn't be there, and they are directly impacting the outcome. So the goal should be to have, if for Cup, if it's 38 spots, I want the best 38 funded, talented drivers on the field, for that weekend on the racetrack. I don't want, no disrespect, but for example, I don't care if Haley Diggin brought $100 million from Monster. She has no business in a Cup car if she can't run well enough in an Xfinity or truck. So she shouldn't just because she's got the money be able to buy her right into it.
I had that argument. I've had that same exact argument even when fucking Danica came in.
Same thing for Danica. I want
My
the
God.
best people on the track.
Yes. I'm not saying women should not be in a race car. Because she proved she could go out and win. It might have been kind of a fluke. There was a lot of circumstances that were around it when she got the win in Indy, but
she still won.
She still won.
Fuel mileage. Motegi is fuel mileage.
So,
yeah.
And to that point about having the best people on the track, circling that back to Mike Wallace, like, which one do we think is going to, of the people that we talked about, those three, who do you think is going to help put on a better show overall? Mike Wallace, Anthony Alfredo, or Helio? Now, Helio, world-class racer, but this isn't his discipline. So is it more probable he's going to wreck or he's going to draft well and make amazing moves? He's probably going to be the cause of a wreck or be in a wreck.
Yeah.
Mike Wallace has been doing this long enough, regardless of the car. He's going to know what to do. And the same can be said for Alfredo. He's run enough Xfinity and truck stuff that I would rank those two as going to attribute to a better race, which is should be the singular goal.
Alfredo's actually filled in.
Yeah.
And he's another one that a lot of people don't. I mean, I went through and I had this is funny. It was kind of not necessarily an argument, but kind of an argument with my wife. She's sitting there and she's like, well, everybody just needs to lay off Ross Chastain because this is only his second or third year. I'm like, second or third year? And she's like, yeah. I said, this is going on Chastain's 10th year. She goes, no. So I went back through and I shown her.
Trucks,
10 fucking years. No, just in the Cup Series. Go back and look when he was in the 4-car.
You know what? You're right. Yeah, with Morgan McClure. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah,
he's been around for, I mean, another one that a lot of people didn't understand. They go through and a lot of talk has come about with, like I said, the stuff with Corey and everything else. Corey, not quite so much, but even Bowman. Nobody understood how long Bowman was in the sport. Bowman,
with all the BK racing, the Go Fast racing, yeah.
Bowman and Corey both got thrown into both of those teams almost at the same time. They were, in fact, they weren't even running full time in the rookie seasons. They were splitting that ride, the 83 and the 23 both. Those two were on the same team for two different teams. They were on the same team.
Yep. Nope, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, Alfredo, Mike Wallace, yeah, they're going to put on overall I mean,
And
maybe
that's my
not.
point. Like at the end of the day, NASCAR's objective should be we want to put on the best stock car racing on a given weekend we can. And that means we want the best drivers in those seats that we can to produce that show. Well, if Mike Wallace is going to produce for you a better
Overall
result
performance.
because he's not going to, more than likely, he's not going to be the cause of a big one versus Helio is almost certainly going to be in the big one, either come barreling in there because he doesn't understand the stopping power of this car, or
Yeah.
he's going to cause one because he's going to overreact and the steering box is faster, slower, whatever than an Indy car, just all the different mechanical differences. I just think, I think NASCAR sometimes can't get out of their own way. And, they're trying to do one thing and then they step on their dick in the dirt, like I said, and the other almost immediately to, one's chasing headlines. Well, the headlines will create themselves if you're racing every week is phenomenal. They
Well, that
more than likely
yeah,
will
that's
take
why
care
I
of
said
themselves.
he basically got stuck in a situation of, well, oh no, well fuck, we spent the last half hour looking at the wall ride. We weren't looking at the race manipulation for blocking. That's almost what this seems like. It's like that you guys had almost a month to tell this guy, hey, sorry, but you're going to have to do something here in the interim in the next 45, 60 days to prove that we can put you out on the track.
Yeah.
Instead, they waited he lost half that time for them to come through. They had a ride, they have sponsors, they have everything friggin' set up, and then you shit on the guy.
Yeah.
Because now who are you going to fall back on? If somebody that spent 20 years of his life or more, if you go back and look at how long he's been in the sport, I'm pretty, I'd say the better part of 20, if not over 20 years, can't make it. Well, who the fuck is the team going to go get now to put in that car? You've got a car that's now ready and now sponsored.
Yep.
Who so if he doesn't qualify, who can we put in there that's going to be qualified then?
Yeah, that's just it. That's the other
Somebody
question
that's
is,
never been in a car at all?
yeah, they got to go find somebody else that's good enough to put in there, but you just said a guy with 800 something starts isn't good enough.
Yeah.
But you won't really say why. And I think really his age is the reason why, but they don't want to come across as ageist because that's just not a stance they want to take because some of their greatest racers of all time were old men at the
Well,
end of the
but it also makes them look even more fucking retarded because
day. Yeah.
you're not even giving him the opportunity to. You're not even giving him a shot.
Yeah.
And I'm
No.
not saying not the fact that you're not giving him a shot to even qualify for the race, but
To
yeah,
even get on the track, period. Yeah.
yeah. In anything to even attempt to prove himself is the absolutely ridiculous part. That blows my mind. It really does. I don't know why to this day all this stupid ass decisions that NASCAR makes seems to blow my mind, but it's almost it's kind of like working at UPS. They seem to get dumber and dumber as the years go by.
I
And
think of it like battered wife syndrome. Like you keep telling yourself, he's not going to hit me anymore. He's not going to hit me anymore. And then NASCAR's like, oh yeah.
Speaking of
That's
battered
just kind of
wife,
how I look at it. Like I think, like you see him do something good. Okay. All right, great. We're going to tighten down on the penalties, but we're also going to give a free spot to this, or
yeah,
we're gonna, we're going to work on how we officiate, but we're also not going to apply our own standards equally across the board. And I'm really, they didn't rule out any playoff changes. So, I mean, we've still got we got 2 weeks.
I think it's too late.
You know what? I would agree with you, but it's NASCAR. I don't think it's ever too late for them to step on their nuts and be like, you know what? Think about it like a South Park where Randy's bouncing on his giant ball so he can get marijuana. Like they're just like, all right, we got this. So, all right, let's see what else. Um, so lawsuit wise, nothing major other than they asked for an appeal to be heard in May, which would be
third of the way through the season.
yeah, basically after the if I remember correctly from the timeline, I have to go back and pull it up, but I think that's when that's the arbitration stuff. So basically discovery and arbitration. So they want to have it appeal at that point. I think you're kind of too late down the line, but I mean we'll see. I think at this point we're going to court unless NASCAR gives them what they want.
Yeah, I mean they're stupid to walk away from it now.
Yeah, I mean And Brad actually did the Business Motorsports podcast
Kelly.
with Kelly this week, and he said he mentioned that briefly about team ownership and that like he's very interested in what comes of it just because of the impact it could have to his charters and to the deals and negotiations, things like that. So, you know, I think they're obviously watching the
I
other
would
teams.
love I would love to have a conversation with. I didn't get to read through the whole article, but I saw something popped up on Facebook today that said that Brad Keselowski um, strongly supported his decision on bringing uh, Ryan Preece into that team overall. Which a couple of the comments that they made it sound like, well, there's so much money coming in. It's like, okay, so to an extent, Brad, well, you can't say that Brad doesn't see talent because we got Tyler Reddick,
Blaney.
Blaney, Logano.
Yep.
I think Austin Terrio had a good shot had he not got hurt in Vegas.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Brad definitely picked some good guys to drive his trucks till he shut that down. And the other thing he talked about interestingly during that was not to derail it, but so when he was with Penske, the year he won the Indy 5, the Brickyard, the Southern 500, and when it was the Brickyard Southern 500, like all ending at the like the beginning of the playoffs and everything in Vegas, when he won those 3 races back to back,
Yeah.
he said something that I thought was interesting. Like this is basically what made him, I thought was interesting from a business standpoint, what made him start the or like the precursor to him starting the Keselowski manufacturing that they do now for like the government and the other stuff was
Yeah.
he won milestone win after milestone win after milestone win, not just for himself, but for Penske. And every time he did, Penske's like, put that car in the museum. That was my first, Southern 500. Bam, that was my first Brickyard 500. This was, our 500th win. So all these cars go in the museum. They don't have any more of the trick parts they had on the car, and there's no way to make them.
Yep.
So he started manufacturing his own.
Yep.
But you have to build all that up. So all of a sudden they went from having these really good cars to, well, shit. Because you took the car and put it in the museum, I only had 3 sets of those parts, and you put them all in the freaking museum. So I can't get them back.
I'm still mad about that Southern 500.
So
That
I just thought that
or
was
Blake.
That car should have won that 500. That
or
one right
Blake.
All right, so
Chili Bowl.
Thing really left to talk about from this week that was like a big news thing. And we'll see what happens because they haven't named any lineups. They haven't talked about really what the shows are going to be or how long they'll be. But NASCAR is launching its own channel, which I mean, for a long time, that's something I've wanted was like a NASCAR specific channel. I wish it was something it's going to be on free with ads through I think Tubi. You said, Blake.
Yes, sir.
So I guess that's good that it's free. My only issue is I would prefer it to be like a pay-per-view tile or like a Disney Channel or something where you can just pay for an annual subscription. I think most people would rather have that, but their free model, obviously, they're trying to hit as many fans as possible. Similar to how WWE, when they, years ago started the WWE channel and then it was its own thing. I think NASCAR's needed its own dedicated content platform for a long time.
I'm curious to see what races from the past that they post. What I'm saying that is because a lot of times they just put up Talladegas or Daytonas or they don't just
They don't
I
put up
think
like a
they should just
Rockingham, for example, or a Loudon where Jeff Burton wins wire to wire.
they need to just fucking put a randomizer in it and just let it play something.
I'm okay with that from the channel
Because they
perspective. I guess we'll have to see what the content delivery model is because it's going to be Tubi is an app. So, I mean, if you could select NASCAR, I think of it kind of like when you go to HBO Max or Netflix. If you go to select the content,
Does it give you a library?
I would like for
hold
I would
on.
like for there to be a library. I would love to be able to click NASCAR under the Tubi app, and then there'd be a section where it says watch past seasons, and then you can click a year And if they've got the archive race, and you could literally pick 1 through 36 of that entire year, or start at 1 and watch it like a DVD catalog back in the day, or binge watch it, and you could rewatch the 2005 season, like when I was on deployment overseas, and I didn't get to watch very many races because when the ship turns, the signal cuts off, and like all that. It'd be great to be able to go back and
So,
watch those moments I missed in entirety, see all the moments that led up to this one winning the championship, or when did this fall apart, and
well, you can do that on NASCAR Classics on YouTube.
right, but I got to hunt for it.
It's not that hard though.
Right, but my point is
But
you have the
what I
technology in
meant,
these apps now today, like you do on Peacock, like you do on the where you can literally pick CSI, what season, done, hit play, and it will take you through the whole season. There's no reason NASCAR couldn't do that
well, I'm gonna
with their
break your
archive.
heart. This Tubi app, it's gonna be like it's got a TV guide.
Mhm.
Essentially, this is what's playing right now on our channels. The
Yep.
NASCAR channel is going to be a dedicated. This is on at 3. This race is on at 5. You're not going to be. It's not going to be what you're talking about.
No, but I mean, to me, that's a missed opportunity.
It's a
Yes,
huge missed opportunity.
Um,
that's why I said what I said. I wonder what they're going to pick
yeah.
because I know that it's laid out like that.
And I'm
It's
wondering if they're going to go get with Junior, who puts his stuff on YouTube and also put it on there, because that deal with Peacock or NBC is over, right? Because
I think they're competitors.
that it may be. I mean, honestly, if anything, if I was Amazon, I would have Dale Jr. stuff on my platform. If you're smart,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
I'm sure he's working on it.
I would have, you have this Prime Video streaming. I would have Dirty Mo Media have its own section in there, and I would have all that crap in there. But that's a different thing. So I'm curious what, we've talked about with the new contract deal, that content providers or partners for the series are paying more per race than they've ever paid to provide less content. They're literally just providing the race, the practice for some sessions behind a paywall on HBO, or it's on um USA or whatever. Either way, it doesn't matter. But you've got all these different ways, but they cut out Race Hub, they cut out NASCAR America. We lost Speed Channel. We don't have Race Day by the Home Depot. We have all these different ways we used to get data, just gone. I'm curious to see how NASCAR supplements that with this channel they're going to have, and what is, who the personalities are going to be, you know, because back to our earlier conversation, they pushed out the people that the fans like, the Jimmy Spencers, the Kenny Wallaces, those familiar faces and voices that were, that are beloved by fans. That, we had mass crowds around these stages. You had people calling in all the time for the crying towel, and had Dave Despain with Wind Tunnel. You had all this support in all these different areas, and you slowly phased it all out. I'm curious to see who they put in where and how they build it back up, if they can even build it back up. Like, did they miss the boat? Did they wait too long?
They missed the boat.
Oh, they missed a big boat.
They missed the arc.
Yeah, I to some extent I agree. I think we've you and I talked about it, Blake, before we really got going with this podcast toward the end of last year. But like, essentially, between Actions Detrimental, now they have the teardown under their umbrella through the Athletic. You have
Herman Schrader.
Herman Schrader. You have Business of Motorsports with Kelly. You have Dale Jr. Download. You have Door Bumper Clear, which is, I don't even know what
Who
it is.
knows where that's going to go now?
Who knows? You have the dirt side of the house that they do. They have a program for that. They have an open wheel side with Connor Daly and those guys.
Speed
Like,
Street.
yeah, Speed Street. They've got betting. Like, for all intents and purposes, Dirty Mo Media is NASCAR media when it comes to audio based content and some video based content. So I don't know what NASCAR is going to put into their channel without
Us.
coming over to, sure, we can get that metric where we get paid. Here is $1 after the government takes their cut.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to see who they go get and where from to, you know, to create this content. Who are the voices? Because a lot of the top talent is already under the Dirty Mo banner. I mean, you've got revered crew chiefs, you've got revered spotters, you got Tommy Baldwin, team owner, you've got drivers, you've got, and not just drivers, the biggest driver in the NASCAR following that's alive. You've got Denny as a team owner. Now, Junior's a Cup team owner. Like, I don't know what you're gonna put on there to make me want to put up with the ads on an app that I don't have to listen to any of that crap when I listen to any of this content either on YouTube or via a podcast mechanism, because there are blockers and things like that that you can't put in these apps. So I'm just very curious, who they're going to get and what they're going to create. And they've got their own separate deal. They're kind of competing with their own content that they're creating for the Drive to Survive like series, the Fast, whatever it is, on Netflix. So,
I mean, like I mentioned, they're also against themselves on YouTube
yeah,
because they have NASCAR Classics where you can go in and watch any damn race you want.
yeah,
Now they don't have all of them on there yet, but they're working on it. And I don't even worry about DVRing much anymore because if I want to watch a race,
it's on there
I
the
just
next day.
type it in YouTube, and if the race is Sunday, it's on there by Tuesday.
Yeah, that's just
So
it. So if you do if you watch the race real time, you got to watch ads, or if you don't have a subscription that supports ads or TV partner or whatever your, streaming partner is that's through like the NBC app, the Fox app, whatever, then you get the "we'll be back to your program shortly." It's just a regular, like a slideshow presentation screen. So you have to sit and wait through that. But if you were to watch them 2 days later, granted, what the outcome is. It's usually hard for somebody not to, but you could go in there. They make ad blockers for YouTube in your web browsers and stuff. So you could watch it on a tablet, watch it on a computer, a laptop, whatever. And you can bypass all the advertising at that point because there are plugins. So now they've lost all their advertising hits. So I just don't, the way streaming has evolved, I don't see the objective they're going for with the Tubi platform. I think they're going to have to find a different or different platform model. I think the channel, depending on what they do, might be successful, but they're going to have to, go to a different, delivery mechanism. Basically, I think a dedicated app would probably have been a better solution. I don't know why they didn't just fold it all into the NASCAR app. Just then you've got that on all your Apple TV, your Fire Stick, your whatever. It's already on your phone. You know, would have just made more sense to
because that
me.
makes too much sense.
Well, again, I think they're hiring the wrong people, you know, for these kind of decisions. And again, you literally brought in the number one streaming partner on the planet, Amazon. You got to deal with Netflix. Why are you starting your own crap on a third party? Like, no, nothing that's not in millions of homes.
they're not thinking. They never do.
You know, so. But that's all I got. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Kyle Larson's won his third Golden Driller.
You knew
Okay.
that was coming.
So
The
so let's
sexual
talk
tension in
about
the
your
room for Blake, there was no way you could pass it up without having to throw in there that Larson won the fucking chili bowl again.
all right. So
Be ready
Larson
to
in the
explode
Chili
all over his
Bowl.
phone.
I told
Says
Blake
the
to
guy
record
wearing a
this.
Larson shirt.
I told Blake to record this earlier because I didn't want to say it all again. But I
Yeah,
did.
well, I'm driving down the road 75 mile an hour. You recorded that, right?
So
Yeah.
for the Chili Bowl, because it was free on YouTube, I watched the A main. I didn't watch all the little mini mains and all that stuff. But back
Alphabet
to
soup.
the singular point of the objective of the race event always is to put the best product in front of the fans. That was not the best product you could possibly have. Was it entertaining to watch? Hell yeah. I mean, from a entertainment perspective, Larson impressed beyond measure. He ran over a car that wrecked in front of him. Somehow that didn't damage his car. He ran over the wall, damn near flipped, never lost a position, and won the race through all of these things. But the people that he was competing against, the Christopher Bells and the other guys that were legitimate contenders and could have gotten up there, my issue with this race, and we saw it, a couple of years ago, is the management staff. They run this race like a bunch of amateurs, and it's supposed to be, on the same level as like the Nashville Nationals, the whatever it is, whatever the one at Eldora is, the World 100 or whatever. But either way,
World 100.
yeah, the world, it's supposed to be in that same revered category, but they run it like they've never run a race before. You've got people that really shouldn't be in that level that are causing problems, and as a result, you never get in more than 5, 10 laps at a time at most. Well, how are you supposed to pass if you could never build up any momentum? And dirt racing is very much a momentum-based racing. So that's my issue with it.
It is the midget series Daytona 500. It's their Indy 500. It's their Monaco.
Yep.
Just because Rico's in there doesn't mean you can call it a midget series, dude. Come on, man.
That's what it is.
That's
a midget.
That might get our video taken down because I said that.
Good job, Chris.
No, me saying it might be what gets it taken down. Well, I don't know. We got a new president today. It's a new world, free speech. We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So
we got to live up to that unfiltered name somehow.
All right, exactly. Exactly. Just let it fly. So, anything else y'all want to talk about?
I just want to be nitpicky real quick.
No, this is fucking weird.
Chris wouldn't let me talk earlier, so I'm coming back now. He said that the rule is you have to attempt every race for the charters.
Yes.
That is not the rule. The rule to attempt every race is for the drivers. Charter teams are guaranteed in every race. So part of the charter agreement, if you are a charter team, you are in every race. So they would not be able to change the way the Daytona 500 is laid out for the next 7 years. They could put a provision in starting the next contract that says Daytona 500 is like the Indy 500 in the sense you have to make the race. But for the next 7 years, you cannot just change it because it's in the contract. If you're a charter team, you're in every race.
Okay.
Well, that's true, but
I tried to interrupt, but I couldn't get in.
Well, but also what we were talking about, though. I mean, I get what you're saying, but we're looking at the possibility of making it to where even if you are a charter team not making the Daytona 500, it would still fall under the qualification that you attempted the race. Whether they made it or not, they attempted the race is what I was meaning by that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I know you got to nitpick it. It's cool. We get it.
Well, you were saying no. It just says this, and I was like, no. It was killing me. I couldn't get in. Y'all are both talking. I was like, no, I'll just wait.
Look, accuracy is less important than just getting as much content in there as possible. Haven't you been paying attention to how media works? That's why it's fake news.
I can't help that. That's a flaw of mine. I have to be accurate.
That was one of the things that pissed me off about last week, talking about the stuff, and I realized afterwards I was wrong about the TV agreement, so I had to put a footnote in there because we couldn't just re-record the whole damn thing because couldn't even redo it all. I was like, shit.
What were you wrong about?
So the total TV package is $7.7 billion. I was right about that. So NASCAR for 7 years they're getting $1.1 billion per season for the cup level. The Xfinity is 800 and something million, not like however many billion. So
I think you said 1 billion. You said 1 billion, I think.
Yeah, I was off by a couple hundred million, just like a couple couch change. But either way, I don't like to be if we're gonna talk about it, contextually, I'd like to be right. So that was
when you said $1 billion, I don't know if you remember, but I kind of
you did, but it was still. I think what was confusing about it is because they started the playoffs earlier, the way they used the contract numbers and they started covering, CW started covering the playoffs earlier. It was confusing as to whether or not it was additional revenue to CW by a result of starting 10 races early or not. It kind of clouded the discussion. But either way, all the series are getting more money than they've ever gotten before. And yet we're getting less content, which is, idiotic. Anyway.
Well, at least we got Blake here to fact check for us.
Yep.
Hey,
fact check Blake. I'll take it.
It was killing me when you were saying that. You're so wrong, and I can't get in.
Yeah, Lord, we got to.
I was actually out here going. How do I put a hand? Because can't you raise your hand in here somewhere?
You can.
So
Yeah,
I
right
think
here,
we'll I
like
think
this
we'll
in
be
front of the camera.
I think we'll be good, Alan. I don't think they'll boot us off even for the midget comment just because we have a built-in fact checker.
Yep. But we just got rid of fact checkers at both, we brought in, what do we call it? Community notes. So don't
Yeah,
worry.
community notes.
One of the viewers out there will be like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I'll be like, you're right. That's why I said we're just three hillbilly race fans who are talking to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah, yeah, no shit.
Nobody said
Well,
we had to be experts.
you can't be called a hillbilly here very soon.
No,
So New
you think
Yorkers aren't hillbillies.
I got news for you. So when my wife and I got married, my dad and I we went up there and he's viewing all these things up there. He's like, this is just a whole nother kind of hillbilly up here. So just believe me, there's still hillbillies up there in upstate New York.
Okay.
This ain't New
All
York City. Get a rope.
Now
Everybody
you're
remembers
dating
those
yourself,
commercials.
dude, with that commercial. Holy
Oh
shit.
yeah, we're going back. So
Gosh.
I guess since I knew the reference, I'm dating myself there, but yeah.
I don't know the reference. I guess
It's a
you can tell
salsa
I'm the
commercial, dude.
baby out of the three.
yeah,
It's a salsa commercial, damn it.
yeah. Yes, it is. It was for paste picante sauce.
Yep.
Get the
Oh,
paste. Where are you from? New
I,
York City. Get a
So,
rope.
so I'm losing my nickname, I guess, there that I had for you, Alan Bama.
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
I'll have to come up with a new one.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it then.
Jeez.
Well, that was fun. Any other topics besides Blake's, chili bowl? He gets to add another, meme. If you're watching this, Kyle Larson won another race.
Yeah, he had another oyster to his pants there, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Hung money starting out the year strong. We'll see how
Yeah.
long it takes him to step on his nuts.
I'm sure it'll happen in Daytona because I picked him to win.
It's true.
Yeah, true.
He's got to not get wrecked first. To finish first, you must
What?
first finish.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that's how it worked.
I know it's hard. Now, if he could stay up there when Bowman wrecks half the field, he'll be fine. Or Byron.
Or Kozlowski.
I do have
Or
one real quick.
Logano.
Yeah.
You kind of accidentally brought it up earlier, uh, but what is your thoughts on the two track champions of Bowman Gray getting rides for the Clash?
I didn't know anything about that.
So you mentioned one of their names, but
Oh,
you thought it was
yeah.
for,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
they're both track champions. One of them's been racing the track for like 20 years. The other one's I think 10
it's
years.
not that I knew they had rides. I didn't realize that was the reason or whatever. Kind of like how in SRX, how they had their provisional
It's
spot for being the
exactly the
local
same.
champion.
Yep.
Yep. So I guess I didn't realize that part. But I mean, I think it's good. I think because it's a kind of like when we talked about the dream schedule, because it's a what do you want to call it? An exhibition event. If you want to have 60 cars, I don't care. As long as
Well,
it's a fun
goddamn,
big
they
show.
couldn't even let Mike qualify there then.
Right? But exactly, we're gonna let local track champions who've literally never been in a NASCAR, they can race
Oh
for fun.
God,
Look what you
I
did.
gotta go.
Look what you did, Blake. So yeah,
You brought it up. You son of a bitch. You brought it up.
No, he called it a
walk
NASCAR.
away, walk away, walk
Who
away.
He
did?
called it.
Oh,
Alan just
NASCARs.
did. He's never been in a NASCAR. Oh my God.
He's never been in a NASCARs, but yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with those guys getting a spot, kind of like the SRX deal. It's an exhibition race. It doesn't count towards points. They're not gonna it's not gonna hurt anybody. It's not like when they were driving all the way out to LA and now they've driven all the way out there and they've spent all that money, for example, like the RFK cars the year they did make it. And then not only do I not make it, I spent all that money and the local guy gets in, but I'm this big team and I spent all this money. At least because it's right there. If they have to go home because these other guys get it, okay, you just
Well, he's driving the 15. I
an
don't really
hour
expect
up the
much.
heat. Right. Well, he's going to be in a charter car, Rick Ware car. So that's okay. I'm just saying that doesn't bother me because it's non-season impacting. And maybe it helps him get his foot in the door. I'm perfectly fine with those kind of things um, for like the Clash because we've kind of devolved the Clash into this whatever event. Now, if it was the All Star, I'd have a problem with it because the All-Star is supposed to be about race winners in the regular season. If we stop doing that, then it's a different discussion. But the Clash doesn't really bother me because it stopped being the Clash for all intents and purposes when we took it off the big oval at Daytona, being a short race for just, prior.
I just don't see how this isn't a what's the word I'm looking for? How this is not an event though that again, but they're cup cars. Why do you have somebody with no qualifications, whether it's an exhibition race or not? Why would this not be a truck series race? And why not let them come out and run a precursor to even the Clash with trucks?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. I'm not completely against it because it's not season impacting, like you said, but
no, but it is another basically F you to Mike Wallace. Like, we're not going to start the Daytona 500. We're going to let the local track champion run the Clash. If Mike Wallace said he wants to run the Clash, can he run the Clash?
Probably.
I mean, the local track champion can, and I've got 800 starts in a cup car. This guy's never sat in one.
So then if he can run the Clash and he can prove that he makes the race and he can drive these cars, then why wouldn't he be qualified to run Daytona?
Exactly. So, more
NASCAR. Unfortunately, we don't run NASCAR.
Yep.
We don't run NASCARs either.
Yep, not NASCAR and NASCARs. Look, in the National Association of Stock Cartel Auto Racing, all right, it's important that we only let in the people that we want to on any given day. Today was not Mike Wallace's day. Last week wasn't his day. You know what? Probably the week before wasn't.
Next year's not his day either.
No,
apparently. We'd rather let him run at 70 than 65.
Sounds fair.
Yeah.
Because old people heal slow, they can't fly, and they don't bounce. So.
I don't think Mocha liked that last one.
No? All right.
I don't think she liked it.
She's just here for the NASCARs.
Yep.
Swear to God.
The Hendricks and the NASCARs. The Rick Hendricks.
Yeah.
Or Chase Elliott.
Blake's nerves.
To Chase Elliott with one T.
Yep. It's Idiot. Bill Idiot. Chase Idiot.
Huh?
That's what my father called him. Bill Idiot.
Oh.
Like idiot, but idiot.
Okay.
Not wrong.
And I will leave you with this parting wisdom at the end of this podcast here that my mom gave me over a glass of wine and some breakfast about 10 years ago.
I was going to say, at 5 years old, that's a little rough, man. But...
It's a good one. You ready?
We're ready.
Never pass a bathroom. Never trust a fart. Never waste a boner.
Your mom said that?
Yep. With my wife sitting beside me.
Wow.
I was like, you know what? As I get older, they're so true. Don't trust a fart for sure. Definitely don't waste a boner. You know how many of those you're going to get in your life? Only wasting those. Now we're definitely getting kicked off.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Good show.
That was a good 8 episodes. We're going to have to rebrand.
7.5 before we got banned.
We were
going to have to rebrand
until we weren't.
And maybe we'll just be called the Thundercats from now on.
Yeah.
But damn, we're going to get the Mike Wallace treatment after this one. You guys don't qualify anymore.
This was your trajectory. You were growing. People were watching your program, and you're done.
And you pulled a door bumper clear.
Yeah. Man, you came into work drunk one time. All of a sudden, you got to get a new show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, 2 times. All right, all 36 weeks. So, all right, well, I'm going to go eat some dinner. We'll let Chris eat some dinner, and we will see what the upcoming weeks bring. We got 2 weeks till the Clash, so we'll see what other nonsense can come up between now and then.
All right, good show.
Yeah.
Good show, Alan. I don't know about Chris, but Alan, you did great.